Level 1. The Ghost. You are 19 years old, sitting in a dark bedroom lit only by a monitor, and you are broke. Not dramatic broke, the quiet kind. The kind that eats at you every time you check your bank app and see 3 digits staring back. You've heard whispers online, in comment sections, in half-deleted forum posts. There's a whole economy running underneath the internet you use every day, invisible to anyone who doesn't know where to look. So you download it. The Tor browser installs in under a minute, and just like that, your screen turns into a doorway. The first .onion site you land on looks like it was built in 2003 and never touched since. Broken images, walls of text, usernames like ghost_king and nullbyte99. You lurk. You don't post. You don't buy anything.
You just read threads about escrow systems, about PGP encryption, about vendors with thousands of 5-star reviews for things that would get a normal person a decade in prison. You learned the vocabulary before you learned the game. Verified, FE for finalize early, burn phone, OPSEC. Your real name starts to feel like a costume you take off at night. Weeks pass. You watch buyers get scammed, watch vendors vanish overnight with everyone's money, watch a market get seized by federal agents and reappear 3 days later under a new name with the same admins. Chaos, but organized chaos, with its own laws, its own currency, its own gravity. And somewhere in that gravity, you feel yourself getting pulled in. Watching isn't why you're still awake at 4 in the morning. You want in. You just don't know yet what in is going to cost you. Level 2. The Runner.
Your first job doesn't come with a job title. It comes as a private message from a user with zero patience and a lot of money moving through his hands. He needs someone to convert digital cash into physical cash, quietly, without questions. You say yes before you let yourself think too hard about it. The instructions are simple and terrifying in their simplicity. Move funds through a chain of wallets. Meet a stranger at a location picked an hour beforehand. Hand over an envelope. Walk away. Don't look back. Your heart is a jackhammer the entire time. You keep telling yourself this is just business, just numbers moving from one place to another. But your hands shake anyway. The money hits your wallet that night, more than you've ever held it once. It should feel like triumph. Instead, it feels like a hook sinking into your side. You start noticing things you never noticed before. Cars that idle too long outside your building, phone calls from unknown numbers, the way your own reflection looks a little more like a stranger. You buy a second phone. You start speaking in code even in your own head. The runner's life is unglamorous. Errands, drops, cash pickups, moving other people's risk from one hand to another for a cut. But it teaches you the one lesson that will keep you alive later. Trust nobody, verify everything, and always assume someone is watching. You start climbing not because you love the danger, but because standing still in this world means someone eventually decides you're expendable. Level 3. The Vendor. You open your own storefront. It isn't glamorous. A single listing, a stack of counterfeit documents you learn to produce through trial, error, and a printer that costs more than your rent. But it's yours, your name, your brand, your reputation on the line with every transaction. The first sale is nerve-wracking in a way nothing has been before. You encrypt the buyer's address, package everything meticulously, and wait. When the 5-star review lands, fast, discreet, exactly as described. Something shifts in you. This isn't just survival anymore. This is a business, and you are good at it. Reputation becomes your religion. Every review, every completed deal, every dispute you settle fairly builds a wall of legitimacy in an illegitimate world. You start undercutting rivals, refining your process, reinvesting profits into better tools and better cover. You learn to spot buyers who ask one question too many, whose messages read like a checklist instead of a conversation. The telltale rhythm of law enforcement fishing for a confession. You end that conversation immediately, no explanation, and you sleep a little worse that night, knowing how close it might have been. Money starts stacking in ways it never has. You buy things in cash, live below what you're worth, and keep two lives running in parallel. One boring and visible, one lucrative and buried 6 layers deep. The vendor life teaches you patience and precision. It also teaches you that every dollar earned down here comes with an invisible price tag. The constant hum of knowing it could all end with a knock on the door. Level 4. The Coder. Selling product has a ceiling. You hit it fast. The real money, you realize, isn't in what you're moving, it's in the tools that make moving anything possible. So you teach yourself to code, obsessively, night after night, until the syntax stops looking like static and starts looking like a language you speak fluently. You start small. Scripts that automate tedious tasks, simple programs that save other vendors hours of manual work. Word spreads. Soon you're not just a vendor, you're an architect of infrastructure other criminals depend on. You build tools that slip past defenses, that mask digital fingerprints, that make the impossible feel routine. Your reputation shifts from reliable seller to something closer to legend, a name people mention with respect and a little fear. Your setup gets serious. Burner laptops that never touch your real network, layers of encryption on every message, a mental map of exactly which files to wipe and how fast, in case tonight is the night. You stop sleeping through the night entirely. Part of you is always listening for footsteps that don't belong. Clients start reaching out directly now, not for your old products, but for your mind. You're no longer running errands for someone else's operation. People are building around you. It's intoxicating and isolating in equal measure. You have more money than you know what to do with, and fewer people you can actually talk to about any of it. The higher you climb, the smaller your real world gets. Level 5. The Contractor. The offer that changes everything comes through a trusted intermediary, vetted 3 times over before you even see the details. A corporation, breached quietly, data extracted and held for leverage. The payout for a single job now dwarfs a year of your old hustle combined. You take it. This is a different tier of danger. Corporate contracts mean corporate security teams, incident responders, sometimes federal involvement within hours of discovery. You move fast, methodical, covering tracks as carefully as you lay them. Every job is a chess match played against people whose entire career is finding people exactly like you. Success breeds more success. You become a name, whispered in private channels. Reliable, discreet, expensive. Organized operations start looping you into bigger schemes. Ransomware payloads, data auctions, corporate extortion with 7-figure demands. The money moving through your hands now requires actual laundering infrastructure, shell companies, crypto mixers, a maze designed so that no single thread leads back to you. But success also means exposure. More people know your work, which means more people could talk. You start vetting everyone twice, trusting almost no one, watching your closest associates for the smallest inconsistency. Paranoia stops being a symptom and becomes your primary survival skill. You've built an empire of code and shadows, and somewhere underneath the thrill, a quiet voice keeps reminding you that everyone in this business eventually meets one of 2 endings. Level 6. The Underboss. You're pulled into the inner circle of one of the largest marketplaces still standing, offered a seat as co-administrator overseeing escrow, vendor disputes, and the flow of funds worth tens of millions. It's the kind of position people kill for, literally and figuratively. And you take it knowing exactly what that means. Your days are spent managing an underworld bureaucracy, resolving disputes between vendors, banning scammers, keeping the machine running smoothly enough that nobody below you asks too many questions. You develop an instinct for spotting infiltrators, the subtle wrongness in how an undercover agent talks, moves, negotiates. You purge accounts on suspicion alone, ruthless, because ruthlessness is the only thing standing between the operation and collapse. The money is no longer something you count. It's something you manage, move through layers of wallets and offshore fronts so complex even you sometimes lose track of exactly where it all sits. You live 2 completely separate existences now, and the seams between them are wearing thin.
Sleep becomes a luxury. Trust becomes nearly non-existent. Then the first crack appears. A vendor arrested, a server seized, a name in a court document that's a little too close to your circle. The entire operation goes into lockdown, migrating to new infrastructure overnight, cutting ties with anyone who might be compromised. You survive it. But surviving costs something every time. A piece of the person you used to be, traded for another few months of freedom.
Level 7. The Architect. You are the one behind the curtain now. The person almost nobody in the operation has ever actually spoken to directly. Layers of lieutenants, encrypted relay systems, and dead-drop communications stand between you and the thousands of people whose livelihoods depend on decisions you make in silence. The empire you helped build now runs largely without needing your direct hand on anything, which is exactly how you designed it. Wealth at this level stops being about spending and becomes about disappearing. Funds routed through a labyrinth of shell corporations, real estate purchases across borders, legitimate businesses built purely to give dirty money somewhere clean to land. On paper, you're an entrepreneur with diversified holdings. In reality, you're the center of a criminal network that spans continents.
But the higher you sit, the bigger the target on your back becomes.
International task forces don't chase runners or vendors. They chase architects. Every year, another Kingpin's name appears in headlines. Another empire collapses overnight in a coordinated raid spanning a dozen countries. You know their names. You've studied their mistakes obsessively, determined not to repeat them, fully aware that determination has never been enough to save anyone before you. This is the truth nobody tells you when you're 19 and broke, staring at a glowing screen for the first time. There is no retirement plan down here. There is only the next transaction, the next close call, the next knock that might be nothing, or might be everything ending at once. You built an empire in the dark. The dark, eventually, always comes looking for what it's owed.